told my colleague, I said, hey, just go into Federal Highway because heavy traffic, the police cannot detain me here.
His story is something that you're going to sit and hold your chair like how you watch Dhurandhar. Especially our Punjabi community. Oh, you educated him for what? To do this.
If I found guilty, I can be jailed up to 20 years. He looked at Adam and me. I know you cannot eat the lockup food. They know we were victim of the system. We had one election and we had 4 prime ministers.
If I'm the prime minister, I would do that. You guys are coming after me, right?
I mean, look, the Malaysians will hunger for change. The younger generation, I don't think they see race as an issue. Maybe it's time for us to keluar mengundi, kalahkan pencuri.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Brand Room with me, Gina Daliwal. How has your week been? Well, one episode every week, and in this week we have a very, very special guest, and this guest is no stranger to activism. His story is something that you're going to sit and hold your chair like how you watch perhaps Dhurandhar. That's how his story is going to be like. Now, he has made his name being a very important behind-the-scene leader for the Coalition for Clean and Fair Elections. So you may know it as the Bersih movement. Bersih, mind you, this is something I also just came to know, is recognized in the whole world. Yeah, what happened in Malaysia has been taken notice by people around the world. Bersih has won the Asia Democracy Award and also the Gwangju Prize for Human Rights. This guest of mine turned into politics, serving as Damansara MP Gobind Singh Dio's political secretary, and he is today YB Gobind Singh Dio, our Minister of Digital's Special Officer. But having said that, he is famously known as Kalumpang Boy because he hails from this little town in Selangor. Help me to welcome Mandeep Singh. Sat Sri Akal, Mandeep.
Sat Sri Akal, Gina.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Congratulations on your setup and your, new founding of your Sama Sama Oye.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Sama Sama Oye has just been launched on the 16th of March. You knew it back then, about a year ago, because I came to see you and get your blessing, so to speak. And I'm glad you put me in touch with the right people, and that helps.
Pleasure is mine. I think after so long, I remember when I was growing up in school, I used to tune on to you famously with Andy Hakim.
Yes, Hindi Power.
Hindi Power, 8 to 12, and
yes.
I think your followings have been missing your voice for quite some time.
2 million.
Welcome back. Yep.
2 million listeners, Mandeep.
Your followers were missing you. And such an honor to be here sitting with you today.
I'm also honored to have you here, Mr. Special Officer for YB Gobind. Someone that we all look up to as well, and you being there, it's a pride. I am particularly proud if there's a Punjabi doing some huge things in our country. I think there should be more of us. I know there are a handful of us, and you being one of them, and you're always behind the scene, very low profile, but I think I'd like to see you being actively involved in politics in due time. Now, coming to a very important area of your personal life. I want to know everything. There were 30 interrogations, 50 detentions. Can you talk about all of that, please? Why were there 30 interrogations and the 50 detention? And I also want to ask you, how did your family take it? Because getting a child caught, and the parents are going to say, I'm sure your mum and dad went through a lot with, especially our Punjabi community. Oh, you educated him for what? To do this. Did you go through that?
Well, okay, firstly, it's like, I think it's not 50 detention. It's just 5 detention.
5? Okay,
5.
Sorry.
Interrogation, 30, death threats, right?
30 interrogations?
This is what I can remember,
Right,
this is based on, I believe the article.
Yes,
right?
it's the article.
It's the article, right? So, I was living in a life where every month I need to renew my bail. I'm on bail every month because I was charged court charges, right? So every month I need to appear. This is what going on for almost 3.5 years, right? From 2015 until after the regime change happened, every month we need to appear in front of the magistrate to renew our bail. And that is court case. And then that doesn't include that every other month or in 1 month, how many times I will be called to the police station for investigation for something which until I can't remember, Until the way I call the police, like, how many papers? To maybe can we wait until 5 or more so that I can come one time and, I can spend a whole day kind of stuff, and we do it, right? And then when protests happen, right? I mean, I will talk about some which I'm fully involved when I get detained that I know that, okay. But some who was not involved at all, but yet I get detained, but has been accused as a mastermind.
Okay.
Like one of the mastermind, in Malay they use the word dalang, right? Which was not involved in, right? But going back to, firstly is how I went through, how I was going through it, right? I think the first time getting detained is like, okay, you don't know the process. You don't know what. You don't know what. You don't know where. You don't know how. Nothing, right? But I probably was lucky because my cellmate is none other than my best friend, right? We are not only cellmate, we were housemate and working colleagues. So he was senior in terms of getting detained to me, right?
Adam Adli?
It's Adam Adli, who's the deputy minister now, right? So he told me, don't worry, bro. The process is this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we go in. First, we will go in. We'll be in the holding room. Now, today's a holding room. Before I came here, you kept me outside holding room, right? So when you go to lock up, today's a holding room. So go to the holding room, and then they do the body check. They give us the the lock-up clothes, and then they tell us where is the cell, and then they put you in. They lock the door, right? And then you'll be served 3 times a day, right? Okay. And I said, what do we do? He said, don't worry. When we don't know whether it's day or night. We don't know what time is it.
You can't tell whether it's a day or night.
We don't know. Yeah.
Are you in the lockup?
Lockup.
Oh, not in prison. Yeah. Police.
Right. So, and he said, don't worry lah. I think when morning we will know when the biscuits come this morning. And then when they open the cell, that means they're taking us for investigation, right?
Okay.
So, first time, right? I remember categorically 13th of March. 13th or 14th of March.
Actually, he remembers his dates.
I just wrote again on Facebook a few days, 2 weeks ago.
I saw that, your purple.
Yeah,
uniform.
Yeah. So, and then, I remember after I think YB Gobin, YB Ram, and few others who came to do our remand. And I remember when YB Gobin told me, he said, your dad is outside. I said, then I told one of the lawyers, I said, didn't I told you all that don't tell my family do not come? I'm in prison clothes, detention clothes. And Adam looked at me like, because we are more than friends, we were like family, right? He knows my family, I know his family. Then he looked at Adam, hey, when your dad is out there. And then we said, okay. So we next told the police that, can you just remove our handcuff?
Yeah.
Right?
Parents lah.
Yeah. So I met my dad and, he appeared strong, right? I don't know inside, right? But that was the first detention. But I think over time, second, third, my mom, because what I do is when I release from lockup, the first thing I do is I drive back to Kalumpang to see my mom, right? And, see my mom and then I'll come back to KL. But I think over time, right, everybody got used to, like, he's, like the phone call come Mandeep detained, okay, he's detained again. Yeah, he'll be out, right? So it from 3 days, 2 days, 1 week, so it became like,
like a regular visit.
Yeah, until, to one point, when we arrived Jinjang, the police will say that, hey, welcome back, bro.
Selamat pulang.
Yeah, but look, today I look back and I laugh about it, right? For me, who's staying in the detention, I lost contact with the world. So I don't know what people are talking, what? But I think the family goes through more.
That's why,
Right?
that's why I'm curious because,
The family-
imagine your dad sees you that way or your mom, right?
Yeah, the family goes through more because photos will be out us in handcuff,
Yeah.
prison clothes, right? And they don't know what we are going through inside. And we probably having a jolly time inside, not jolly time, but we are
You're okay,
safe.
lah.
Yeah, okay,
Meals
right?
3 times a day.
I mean, the phone calls go to the family, right? What you mentioned that is so right. That you educated your son so much and look at him, right? You send him to university for what? For this, is it? Right? And we were in an era probably that, our community look at it that, being in a prison courts, you are a criminal, etc.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but I think over time made my parents stronger and proud of what I was doing.
yes.
So
Yes.
they were like, I always tell my mom and my dad, my parents that whenever people tell you something, say that it's shame to the government who need to lock my son to shut his mouth. I mean, what I had, I only had my mouth to speak and to fight, to argue based on fact. I didn't even throw a stone to anyone, right? So I think over time, but I think I don't know until today, like maybe need to ask them what they went through, right? But it became used, but I think deep in their heart, there was also a lot of fear of what going to happen next. In particular, when Maria was detained under SOSMA. Because both of us are detained at the same time, right? And when the news came out that, Maria was detained under SOSMA, will I be the next person detained under SOSMA?
Because that can go on
Yeah.
for a long, 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 long time.
There's also a story like, today she's my wife. Back then, when my first detention happened, right? So, Christina knows I was going for a protest.
Your wife, yes.
Yeah. Back then we were still dating and she was not based in Malaysia. She was based in Bangkok and she was in a conference in Timor-Leste. And suddenly when she browsed social media
Yeah.
and then like, oi,
Shock.
this girl got detained. And she panicked, don't know what to do, started contacting friends in Malaysia, here and there, etc. All panic like because my wife is from Philippines. In Philippines, you get detained. You get detained, but you don't know when you could be released. But I must say that in Malaysia, there's a process where you need to be brought in front of the magistrate for the next 24 hours, unless you've been detained under ISA. ISA is gone,
yes,
right?
yes.
SOSMA, etc. Right? So these were the people I think suffered more than me.
So in prison, you had now your nice 3 meals, ate your biscuits, and then lunch comes, and then dinner comes. So there was no police brutality, beat you up, blah blah.
No, there was no. Let's be fair to the police, right? We were political detainees. We were not
Right,
tortured.
not criminals.
We were not tortured, right? But look, I need to, again, people may think that we really had a jolly time. No, we had a biscuit, just 2 biscuits, like, the Mary biscuit, like the damn bloody hard biscuit.
Yeah, of course. You're not going to get 5-star
You have this much
food.
of rice and then 1 piece of chicken kind of stuff, right? But I must say that the police were professionals.
Yeah.
The police need to do what they need to do
Yes.
on orders, on instruction, right? And they were nice to us. I will never forget, and I hope that one day I will be able to see this policeman. I remember there was one evening he came to the cell and he looked at Adam and me. He was about, I think, late 50s, and he told us that I know you cannot eat the lockup food, and this is food that I brought for myself from home, but you eat it. And we said that no, it's for you because, he said, no, don't worry, I'll be back home like in few hours time. So it was the Tupperware. In the Tupperware, I remember there was, inside the rice, there was 1 chocolate bar, and he gave to Adam and me. Right? These are heroes. These were people who know that we were not criminals.
Yeah.
They know that we were doing nothing wrong. Right? They know we were victim of the system. And they were always nice. There were some of them, who will indirectly show us they support us.
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah, of course.
There were policemen who didn't, even every time they put the handcuff, sorry Mandeep, I need to handcuff you,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
said, do your job, right? So no, we were not tortured, and I would say that to a certain extent they tried to protect us as well.
Wow. Kudos.
You know,
Kudos
they were good
to
people.
our policemen. I mean, you're doing your duty, yes, and you're
Yeah.
doing it the right way, under order or instructions of the current government who is in power. You have to do what you have to do. Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it, right? They're public servants.
Yep. And this was this was a birthday. I mean, birthday birthday 5 on the eve of birthday, where the office was raided, and they just wanted Maria and me. We were taken. I was taken to IPKKL, and Maria was subsequently detained under SOSMA. But there's also one where tangkap Najib rally. That was the month where I think I was detained 2 times or 3 times. I'm not sure. Lost count. Where I told Adam that, look, I don't think I have so much of time to organize this tangkap Najib, because I need to focus on Bersih. There was a 34 hours rally, and he said, okay. So he went and had a press conference or a rally going to have on the 1st of August, because at the 1st of August we were the chairman for ASEAN, and there will be ASEAN leaders gathering here in Malaysia, and we thought that the ASEAN leaders need to know that we have a corrupt prime minister. I mean, today I will say it again. I've been saying this. I mean, he's been convicted for corruption, right?
Yeah. I mean,
he's
now
a convicted criminal anyway.
Yeah.
So, on the eve of the rally, the police called few of us to go to Dang Wangi. Say, we need to discuss for the tomorrow, which way you guys gonna march, etc. I said, then Adam calls me, Adam or someone called me and said, hey, the police wants to meet up. And I said, look, I have no time for them. I'm not involved. And then no one called me. You guys have fun. He said, come. I said, no, I'm not coming. You guys go. He said, hey, the police this time told us there's a kueh, there's teh tarik. I said, yeah. Probably you will end up again in Jinjang. Anyway, all the best, right? And I went to Damansara. At the time, if you remember, Age was suspended.
Yes,
The Age.
yes,
So there was a solidarity event.
Yes.
So I went there. And Christina was down as well, right? She was going to Sri Lanka. She dropped by Kuala Lumpur. So me, Christina, I think if not mistaken, was Zoe, yeah. So we went to Damansara. At Damansara, after we finished, I got a call from my office. Hey, the police is in the office looking for you. I said, looking for me for what? No, like they surrounded the whole office, like 10 of them. And, I said, but we haven't sent a notice for Bersih rally. Like, the girl was like, saying, I don't know, but it seems that they've detained Adam and Shukri, and now they want you. I was like, okay, bye. Back then, the phone where you remove your battery, take out your SIM card. So I did that. I remember it was a Friday. I told my colleague, I said, hey, you just go into Federal Highway. He said, why? I said, because heavy traffic, the police cannot detain me here. And then after half an hour, her phone started ringing. Where's the idiot? Like, we know he's with you. So lawyers started calling Zoe, Maria started calling, bring him to the office. We need to send him to the police station. And I was detained under. Okay, this was, while I laugh today. But it was a scary moment where I was detained under Section 124B for detrimental to parliamentary democracy, which can be read together with SOSMA, or if I'm in charge in court, bail will be denied, and if I found guilty, I can be jailed up to 20 years.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
So, I mean, of course, they've detained Adam and Shukri before me. And when I came in, it was like, what are you doing here? I said, I don't know. They went and raided everywhere, and they're like, they wanted me, and, the lawyer said I should turn in to the police station, right? And was brought in. The next day was remand. And during the remand, the lawyers told to the magistrate, look, on this day, this time, Mandeep was not here. On this day, this time, Mandeep was not here. On this day, he did not. Despite that, the magistrate said, yeah, I hear you, remand 4 days. And we were like, Then I think to a certain extent, even Adam or Shukri said that actually Mandeep is not involved.
Yeah, kind of like a miscarriage
Yeah.
of justice, isn't it?
You know, but I mean, I don't know. They just put us there, right? So we were like, okay lah, just give us the same cell and we know what to do, But I think the police was like, like, no, cannot put you all in the same cell. So yeah, I was remanded for things that I was involved directly. I also was remanded for things I was not involved directly. But again, whether I was involved directly or indirectly, none of us should have been kept in detention for even a minute. All we were asking for, do the right things. All we were asking for, good governance. All we were asking for, free and fair election. And, but I think that's what made us stronger. That's what made us, to a certain extent, I told the police, the more you detain us, the more people will know me, and the more my voice will become louder, right? And the rest is history.
I know you just said, we were doing the right thing. We weren't doing this, doing it. What you were doing is actually really shaking the core of all the wrong that the government of the day back then was doing. It was at the core. You were going for, them stealing. You were going for them corruption. You were going for them abuse of power. Whatever. They were like free birds doing what they want to do, So I think Bersih was needed and Bersih succeeded. So a new government is now in place, and I hope the government of day would also now know that they have to tread very carefully because the people have spoken once and the people can speak again.
Yeah, I think...
Do you think the government of the day is doing a good job?
This current government?
Our Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim.
Look, I'm part of the government, right? I'm part of the government. I will say that we are not perfect.
Nobody will be perfect. Like, we can't even run our house perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement.
We are not perfect. We are doing our best.
Yeah.
And we are not perfect. And we hear the people dissatisfaction as well. We hear, we know.
That will always be there.
Yeah, but
it cannot be huge, like 1 MDB. You know what I mean? It cannot be that level.
It must never be at any level.
Seriously, even small things where it's like...
it must not be. Right? It must not be. Right? It always starts from...
the small thing.
Yeah. Right? It must not be. Right?
And then you fester.
Correct. And it must be... We must govern with integrity and,
100%.
The richer the country is, the richer the people will be.
Yes.
Right?
Do you think Singapore is doing a good job at that?
I think
comparatively
Singapore have totally a different system and governing, right? And I think they zero toleration in terms of...
Actually, that's a good one. What you just said, Mandeep, is good. Zero tolerance needs to be there. It's not about the small man stealing bread and he is thrown in for 6 months. But the big guy, you tolerate. You cannot tolerate the big guy just because you're rubbing shoulders with the big guy.
I think what we are having is we really need a structural change in Malaysia. We really need a massive reform. But reform is a journey,
It is.
We are still fighting a system of 61 years. Right? I know it's easy to say, because you're in government today, you guys promise this and that. Yes, I acknowledge, I hear everyone, right? But it's a journey. I mean, it's a journey that we really need to repair the system. We need to, whether it's economically, whether it's institution, we do have a system where I will not say rotten, but quite bad.
No. We're not rotten.
We're not a rotten system, but I think we really need to, a lot of things need to be patched here and there. And we need to stabilize the economy. But at the same time, I think and I believe that we must not neglect institution reform. We must strengthen. And reform is a journey. It's a continuous journey. What we reformed last month, things have changed this month. So we need to continue to reform in the institution. Strengthen. I think we need to strengthen our institution.
Talking about that, right? I think the separation of powers need to be clear.
I agree.
It's not that the police cannot go and catch a person in power. The separation of powers, because the police is like, that's the government of the day. I cannot. I know he or she is doing wrong, but I can't. It's not as easy as taking out a warrant of arrest, going, catch. That's why MDB had happened.
Yeah.
And I think it probably still is happening. So, that institution, even judiciary is not separate. The executive power, the judiciary, that separation of powers need to be there. It's not easy. They all know each other, right? They're humans, right? They're all buddies, they're friends. Or, one can be a cop, one can be a judge, one can be a politician. So it's not easy, but it needs to be there.
I agree. But I think we can see that steps been taken.
Yeah.
I would say that judiciary, from what it was and what it is today, is huge different. The judiciary, right? I think Tengku Maimun, Yang Amarif, Tun Tengku Maimun have done a good job, right? So from what it was and what it is today, I think that's huge different, right? Election Commission, from what it was and what it is today, right? It's not perfect, but we can see. I have trust and faith in that agency now, right? This Attorney General, AGC, right? We are moving towards the separation of Attorney General and Public Prosecutor, right?
Yes.
So efforts have been put.
That's right.
Okay. I think we are all talking about here MACC. Right?
MACC.
Right? I must say that massive reform is needed. I must acknowledge, and there's nothing to be ashamed or saying we are U-turn or what. Sometimes when you are outside, it's easy for you to say this
correct.
thing.
Yes.
Then when you come inside, it's like, okay, it's not that
Yeah.
easy,
It's a different story.
right?
That's why from outside, I can comment so many things.
Yeah.
Internally, it could be a different story
Correct.
altogether, because so many things are happening internally.
Correct.
How you know what is right, what's wrong?
But despite that, I will say that fairly we have done quite.
I think so.
We have done.
I think so.
Parliament today, we have select. If you are familiar with select committee, right? We have 10 select committee, right? We have brought in the Parliament Act. More independence in Parliament. I will. If I say that, totally independent, it's like, no lah. I don't think anybody will believe me or trust me, right? But I think you can see that there are some independence there in Parliament as well. We are trying to fix here and there. If we be given one more term to serve, right, probably more can be done.
Do you think you'll get that one more term? What's your gut feel? I think you will get that one more term. I think overall people are quite satisfied. Of course,
I don't know, but again, it's like when I started, when we started earlier, I said that the majority or the way people decide, the way people think now is different from them, from how 20 years ago, right? Whether or not we'll be given ultimately for the people to decide. If the people think that, okay, this government should be given one more term to do 1, 2, 3, 4, then yes. If not, I don't dare to say this because
you never know.
You never know.
But you know what? Sometimes it's very funny. People on the ground, they're just happy with 100 ringgit in your IC. They're just happy that the petrol is now cheap because you use your IC and then you get the subsidy. Sometimes it's as simple as that to win you back, and put you in government.
I think that shouldn't be how one vote for a government.
That's right.
Whether it's 100 ringgit, whether it's 200 ringgit, whether it's 50 ringgit, I think people need to see that this is what, because I'm paying tax, I'm contributing this much to the government, every year. Therefore, there's some things that I need to get back for me.
But do you think there are more people like that on the ground? I mean, at the root level, do you think there are more people that are saying that, I got 100 ringgit lah, petrol pun dah murah dah sekarang. Gula ada subsidi, minyak ada subsidi, kerajaan jaga, everything. So, do you think that there are more people? Because these people, if they are in a greater number, they are the ones who are going to Put that.
Let's go back to May 9 again. What Najib didn't give?
Actually, he did lah.
He gave the brim,
was,
he gave whatever, and he thought that cash is king.
yeah, but he got caught because of 1MDB.
No, going back to what you said, they're giving 100 ringgit, giving STR, giving subsidy,
That's
etc. Right? Najib gave all the money.
No, but he had 1MDB to bring him down. The current government seems like doing a good job. So I think they might, your government, which you're part of now, I think you guys may come back. I don't think you'll be overthrown. I don't know. I may be wrong, of course, you know.
No, for me, it's like I think I want to be clear that I don't want this. One more term will be really good for us to deliver
I think
the
so.
reforms, etc. Right? But ultimately, for the people to decide whether they're going to give us
100%.
or not, right? And I think we deserve one more term, or we need one more term. Maybe we need one more term in terms of ensuring more reforms can be done and to fix this country, right? I think much more can be done. This is a rich country. This is a beautiful country.
Oh, yeah.
This is a country where you can have thosai for your breakfast. You can have wonton mee for your lunch, and you can have nasi lemak or whatever for your dinner, right? It's a beautiful
It is.
country, but I think politicians have divided this country. But I believe that Malaysians are still united, right?
100%.
Politics aside, I think there's a certain group of people trying to divide us. I don't think while race-based, we are still stuck in the race-based politics. But I think eventually the younger people, the younger generation, I don't think they see race as an issue. They see Malaysia as one, and rightfully it should be.
Yes, divide and conquer cannot keep winning. I think that's not the strategy anymore. What are your future plans?
Well, coming from activism, joining politics after May 9, 2018, I've been actively, I'm a card holder, a lifetime member of DAP, a party that I believe in, and I will always be a DAP member. In terms of future plans, I think time will decide. Time will decide. I was once very actively campaigning on the ground, but I believe when the day come, or when the party decides what is next for me, and I will take the challenge. So as a party people, we will leave it to the party, but we are ready to serve at any time.
Awesome. That's awesome. I think we do need a mix of, the opposition in the current government, or the people ruling. There must be a check and balance.
Yep.
I think because we did not have that kind of a check and balance before, I mean, there's been a regime change because of Bersih. I think today things are looking a little bit better, I suppose, in that regard. But I think we still have a lot more to do, especially where corruption is concerned. I am particularly sick and tired of seeing the small man being hurled, but some big guns are also need to be accounted for.
I agree. But I think Malaysians have changed Malaysia, right? May 9. I always go back to May 9, 2018. The historical change, where for the first time we see the world witness that the downfall of Barisan Nasional, and it was a historical moment for Malaysia. And since then, well, I agree with you that corruption is still the issue, and what we are facing today, we cannot run away from what we are facing today. What people are talking on the streets about, where the small ones being detained, where the big fish out there. But the government, I think we are trying our best. We are doing our best, right? Change take time, but that doesn't mean that you need so much of time, right?
Absolutely.
Reform is taking in place since 2018. Then the government collapsed in 2020. Since then, we have seen change after change, and I always say this, that in the world you have one election every 5 years or 6 years or 4 years. You have one leader. We had one election and we had 4 prime ministers.
I know.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Whether for good or for bad, but today, we are back into power since 2022. I must say that this Madani government is not a government that Malaysians voted for. No single party, no single coalition managed to obtain majority.
Yeah.
Some people voted against Pakatan Harapan. Some Malaysians voted against Barisan Nasional. But end of the day, you see Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan and other parties coming together to form a unity government.
Yeah.
And because, for 4 days, the country didn't have any government and leader, right? The rest is history. And today here we are. And I think for DAP in particular, I can say, so even my minister, we are very focused on reform and we are pushing in reform. And I think based on people who read the news, they know how vocal have we been, whether be it we are in government or not. Right? We are being in government, like you mentioned, right? Must be check and balance. I think the era of being in government and being a yes man is over.
Seriously?
Right? Well, I think you can see from what we've been saying, despite we are being in government. I myself, right? Minister Gobin also come out and question, despite being a cabinet minister.
Yeah.
Right? Being a cabinet minister, he questions for and he pushed for reforms and he tell the public what reforms he's pushing for. Probably this is a new era of governing, right? Rightfully or wrongfully, I leave it to the people, right? But I think this is a new era where we cannot be just, being quiet. We all came to power promising people reform, promising people change, right? And I think now we need to walk the talk. And I must say that while I acknowledge the dissatisfaction of the people, but for the past close to 4 years, we've been bringing change and reform as well.
What are some of the reforms that's on your agenda that you're pushing? Has there been any success, or it's still work in progress?
I think if we go back to 2018, one of the biggest reform is the 18 years old, Undi 18. Back then, only the 21 years old, once you reach 21 years old, you can vote.
Yes.
Right? But no, we managed to bring it to 18 years old, one of the big reform.
That's
right. And actually, sadly, a month ago, despite the bill, we didn't get it through Parliament. The limit, the 2-term limit for the Prime Minister, right? That maximum only two term, which is 10 years, or 2 parliamentary term, but didn't get success. We didn't succeed. We didn't get enough of numbers, right? But there are other economy reforms have been done. Right? Say the subsidy of the fuel at 199.
Right. Oh,
right?
That's awesome.
Despite I know there's a concern about the diesel going up, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But
there is RM1.99, and there are many other reforms that we've been trying. Election Commission, which is something is very close to my heart. All my activism was about election, right? We can see that you have good people there. Actually, maybe you should also invite Zoe Randawa, who we used to work together in Bersih. She's a commissioner, and she's the youngest ever commissioner. She's still the youngest one there, right? We could see that civil society leaders being brought into, agencies or commission, independent commission, and then you have seen, I will touch on the human rights reform, right? You see the forming of Media Council. Right, I remember Media Council started in the 70s.
Yes.
By 2019, many forgot that actually the one who brought it back again into life was YB Gobin when he was the Minister of Communication and Multimedia, right? And subsequently government collapsed. But today we see Media Council is in place. It may not be perfect, right?
Yeah.
But it's there, right? And you see Suakam, you got former judges, who is leading the Commission of Human Rights, and then the legal, of course, the judiciary as well. Yes, there's some complaints here and there, but let's not forget we had the Iron Lady Tengku Maimun, Yang Ahmad Arif Tengku Maimun, and then we had good judges there, etc. So these are reforms that have taken place. I believe there are much more. I don't have the list with me. The abolishment of the mandatory death penalty. Right?
Yeah.
YB Ram was there when he was a deputy law minister. So these are reforms, major reforms. There are small, minor reforms, and I believe that more reforms will take place.
Wow. Really, I mean, yeah, I've seen all of those reforms happening. Some are work in progress, but they have been announced, and some, of course, you have managed to put into place. Now, going back to Bersih, where is Bersih now?
Well, to be very honest, I don't think I will be the right person to say where is Bersih now, since I left in 2018. But there's a change of era in Bersih as well, right? Before May 9, you have a very consolidated and united voice against one common enemy,
Yes.
right? And let's be honest, Bersih was a movement for regime change.
Yep.
We cannot run away from the fact. Yes, we started as a coalition for free and fair election. Subsequently, when one MDB came in, right, which landed Najib Tun Razak in
Prison.
Kajang prison,
Yeah.
right? At that particular, and then we moved from being a coalition for just free and fair election towards a people's movement where we're going to talk about corruption, saving the economy, and etc. Right?
Yeah.
And at that era, you have very clear the people want the leadership. The people look at Bersih as the hope, right? And the people wanted change. So we were the one of the key anchor movement who could bring people together, right? As an umbrella movement, we went to the street, we create advocacy, etc. But at that time, again, was very clear. We need to come out to vote. We need to change the government,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And today I would say half or more than half, even including the Prime Minister, they were all participated in Bersih. You know, they were not in the leadership of Bersih, but there's, okay, if I can go back a bit, when Bersih started and then became Bersih 2.0, it was a movement started by the politicians. The Pakatan, back then there was no Pakatan Harapan or no even Pakatan Rakyat, right? The opposition, right? They were the one who founded Bersih. So what happened after March 8, 2008, when the first political tsunami happened, right? Majority of them got appointed as a member of parliament or state assembly person. So the movement was then handed over to civil society. Then it became Bersih 2.0. And the leaders after that, it was handed over to Ambiga Srinivasan. Dato' Ambiga became the leader, right? So at that time was, we had a very united front, very clear agenda, moving towards a regime change. And it happened. And it is normal for any movement in the world when you achieve certain of your goal, right? Like regime change, for example, right? And then the key partners or the key players or maybe the key supporters who was now overnight you became government, right?
Yep.
And Bersih was still pushing for reform, but I think it's change of era. They are doing their job. They're still a very important movement, but they are participating or they are doing something in a different way. Maybe more on a lobbying side. I'm still in touch with them all the time when I need help in terms of reforms, etc. But has a strong voice to mobilize. Maybe the voice is there, but if we are talking about mobilizing, it's not an easy time, Gina, to mobilize. I know, I mobilized Bersih 3. I was involved in Bersih 3, Bersih 4. From, we did the overnight 34 hours, which is, if you look back, I don't know how we did it, right? 500,000 people on the street. I don't know how we did it, but why or how it happened, because at that time, the Malaysians were hunger for change.
Yeah.
Right? And change happened, and so many change happened. I think there's also a fatigue that we need to acknowledge today.
Yeah, because you know what? When I was reading, I didn't know there were Bersih 5, up to Bersih 5.
I didn't participate in Bersih 5 though, because I was kept overnight in Jinjang.
Yes, I'm going to talk about your detention, your interrogations, your 17 hours of what you went through and all. But really, I didn't know there was a Bersih 5.0. And my recollection of Bersih is yellow T-shirts, which were...
I'm wearing yellow today.
Kind of. The yellow T-shirts, which were almost banned but then it was overturned. What has the color got to do with it? Because also, the play of royalty, perhaps the color of royalty. Was that the story?
No, yellow is a people's power color.
Yes, but that time, why were they trying to ban yellow? Was that?
Why? I mean, look, at that particular time, the authorities was just, I don't know what was running in the head of the government of the day, right? In particular, Najib Tun Razak.
Well, of course, you had to stop this, right? I mean, you're trying to throw him
well,
out from
it's true.
power, right?
Yes, we wanted to it was a public known that we want to overthrow him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Using the democratic means. And we did using the democratic means. I think they came to a part where just to do everything and anything to stop us.
Well,
right?
anyone in power would do that, right? I mean, it's a natural. I mean, if you're coming to attack me, I'm going to defend. I'm going to find all kinds of ways. So I suppose he was doing that. Yes, we found him wrong when it comes to 1MDB, But yeah, if I'm the Prime Minister, I would do that. You guys are coming after me, right?
I think the era have changed.
No.
You can block how much you want, but
Yes.
you cannot. I always believe that at the end of the day,
Yep.
I've been saying this whenever I go for my ceramah. At the end of the day, the people will win.
100%. That's why we, like you say, 500,000, where did they come from? I didn't go down. I wanted to go down, but each time I wanted to go down, it's like the trains are packed, the streets are packed. Where do I park? What do I do? Who do I see? I was lost. But then all I saw was tear gas, water cannons, you name it, all kind. Police brutality also we saw. But I like reading the fact that the police actually were working with you guys. You were talking to the police and you told the police, if anybody is trying to be funny, then of course you have to act. Because we want to go in a peaceful manner. So I think, right, you respected the police. You're not there to do that, damage property, people's properties, public property and all that. And I think I read about the fact that you were even telling the police, if someone is trying to be funny, you can arrest them. But other than that, don't touch us.
Gina, actually, you mentioned about police brutality, right? But things change. We're talking about Bersih 2 and 3 and 1, right? Bersih 3 was on 28th of April 2012. I think that was the highest ever arrest. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1,000 over arrests.
Yeah.
Water canister was shot, beaten up, etc. But things change. Bersih 4. We were on the street for 34 hours. There was not even one tear gas was shot. No canister. We had a democracy festival on the street of Kuala Lumpur. Right? And like you mentioned, yes, I was one of the three person which is Maria and Sarajun and me. These were the three names was given to the police that, if anything, negotiate with these three or talk to these three people, right? And which we did for the entire 34 hours, every 2 hours, 3 hours negotiation. And to be fair to the police, right? I think they were just doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And they are just doing their job, whether they're under pressure or not. That is secondary, right? They was doing their job. And for the 34 hours, I think the negotiation went on maybe close to 48 hours, right? Before, during, and after. And it shows that actually peaceful assembly is okay.
Yeah.
Peaceful assembly can be done. Peaceful assembly is a norm when we work together, right? The streets of Kuala Lumpur was clean. We brought in trucks to clean. No, we didn't keep anything. We didn't left any single rubbish, right? Yeah, and also let's accept the reality. When you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, some things will damage here and there.
Yeah.
This is normal. I'm not saying it's not vandalism, right? It's normal. It's democracy in work, right? And but can be done. I mean, today you see, every other week there are protests. My friends, some of them are my juniors from activism, right? They are still going to the street to protest, and which is okay. And the government allow today, or the authorities assist, and we don't hear any more complaint. And I think any government come after this, protest going to be a norm. Peaceful assembly going to be culture, part of our democracy maturity, and we need to accept it.
Yeah, I know. I read somewhere you were saying for the first time ever, it was cool to protest. You know, first time ever. I have lived in Australia for a few years, and you know why? What? Protest is happening every single day. Strikes are happening every single day. And I was like, oh, today bus is not going because they're striking. Today nurses striking. Today this striking, that strike, or protest for this, protest for that, protest. It is every day. Some roads are closed and they are main roads with hundreds or thousands of people, you know. It's like, I'm like, what? This is not Malaysia. But for the first time during birthday is when we saw the people power. And honestly, like you said, you know, now the police also know that if you come and you try and get a permit to do it, as long as you promise peaceful assembly, carrying your placards and all that, should be okay.
I must correct you, right? There's no permit needed.
No permit, is it?
No. Under the Peaceful Assembly Act 2012,
Right.
it's just a notification.
Oh.
You just notify.
Right.
And I think it's just a notification. You don't need approval. The Police Act was different. Police Act has gone, right? So, which is just notify. Of course, there are terms and condition here and there, right? And today, Section 9(5) is no longer this unconstitutional, right? The case of Ame Hariri, you know, versus the government of Malaysia on the 1st of July 2015. Yes. You know, the federal court have decided that it's unconstitutional. And for me, despite being in government and for something that I campaigned all my life, I allowed the decision. You know, was the best victory. You know, act that we were against draconian. I was charged for under that act. I was up and down for court for almost 4 years. I was acquitted. But it's such a beautiful day. I mean, to celebrate on that particular day when we saw the act is unconstitutional. So no permit is needed. It's just notification.
Honestly, that's good for us to know. So if you want to protest anything, you notify the police in your area, and then you can hold your placards and all that. But do it the right way, yeah.
Yep.
Because otherwise,
and be peaceful.
Correct. Make it peaceful. If anything, I think we have come to an era where people can do that, right?
True.
So keep up on that 2-term. I don't know. Can you all bring that back again another time to say that this time we failed?
I think the government will bring it back
Awesome.
again, right? But I also believe that, I'm being honest, I mean, I don't know whether my colleagues in Harapan or even my boss will like to listen this, right? I don't think any government will in Malaysia. We have passed through the democracy maturity. I think any government will come and go after this will be just for 2 terms or more. The way I look at it.
The political scenario
I think
dictates that, is it?
Not political scenario, I think.
Or people?
People. I will always say that people are matured today. The people, look at the 222 parliamentarians in the parliament today, right? And look at the coalition. All the coalition, every single party we have in this country have governed Malaysia in the past 8 years.
Yes.
So be it PAS, Bersatu, DAP, PKR, UMNO been there for the longest time, MIC, MCA, right?
Yeah, PAS.
PAS. So everybody
north,
have governed, right? And I think change, Malaysians are not afraid to change anymore. Malaysians.
So are you saying, Mandeep, sorry to cut you off there, are you saying that if the current government is not up to mark, the people will let you know?
Yes.
At the next elections?
Yes. The people will let us know. I believe in parliamentary democracy. I think Malaysians believe in ballot box. Ballot box have brought change in Malaysia, and I think that Malaysians are ready for change at any time. Look at Sabah.
Oh yeah, Sabah and Sarawak. It's another.
And I think it's something that we should. For me, as a person who believe in parliamentary democracy, believe in ballot box, I think in terms of democracy, it's a win part of the democracy.
What if the wrong person makes the most noise and manage to influence people wrongly, and then he gets into power?
That goes back to, I think, the people. It's not okay. We're in an era today of communication or information is just at your finger, right?
Yes.
In your phone, everybody
Yeah.
have more smartphones.
That's right.
Right? I think it's also the duty of us as a citizen to try to get the correct information. And before you vote, before you cross at the ballot box, I think the duty is to go back to us as a citizen, right? To do a basic background check on who you're going to vote, right?
But you know what? I agree with you, but you know what? People can come up with their own narratives.
True.
And then if I'm watching the social media and you are giving me your narrative and your opposition is giving me their narrative, I'm going to be so confused. But who is telling the truth here?
I think people like you play an important role. You run a podcast, etc. Probably you should start doing some basic voter education as well.
Right. When is the next election?
I don't know.
28?
Normally it's 5 years for 2022. So by right, the maturity is until 2027. It can go up to maybe the first quarter of 2028.
Right,
But we
okay.
don't know, right? If the Prime Minister decides to call for election, he just need to get the audience from the King, and
Right.
then
Yep.
But a lot of rumors says that maybe this year, maybe next year, we don't know. Did you really thought the change will happen on May 9, 2018? Do you really thought that Barisan Nasional will collapse?
No. I mean, no. Actually, I think it would have. It would have. But I was just waiting to see what kind of tactics would come to say, no, we still won.
Yeah. But the going back to May 9, right? The wave was like unstoppable.
Yes.
Right? The majority was huge. But then you come back to 2022, you see where the rise of Perikatan Nasional as well within 4 years. Right? So, let's say if the election is 2027, let's say for the sake of, discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe people will change. Maybe people will say that, I don't want to vote for using flags. I want to see who is the candidate, like what you mentioned, right? But the challenge now is also the days of ceramah is over. Right? Back then, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 ceramah. I think today people just want to stay at home comfortably, just watch Facebook Live or TikTok Live or whatever live, So that human touch may not be there anymore, right? So we are like when I started earlier, I said that, things are moving so fast, changing so fast. So back then, we start campaigning, like we go to every market. We still need to go to every market when we campaign for election, right? But from market, then we go breakfast, we go lunch, etc. But now people going to be like, people just want to see your 30 seconds video or maybe your 60 seconds video. It's no longer like last time. So whether people going to vote for party, whether going to vote for candidate, I believe that things are changing. You may have in urban area, people say, okay, Gina, because the way she speak, very clear mission, doesn't matter which party she come from, even though she is independent, I'm going to vote for her. But then you're going to go some area, people say that, you know what, I don't want Christina because I want Simran because I'm going to vote for that party. Whether she can do a job or not, but I want that party to win.
Why Bersih didn't have a succession planning? Where is it now?
I think this is a question where it's difficult.
You
for
wanted
me.
to create a foundation.
Well, there was so many discussion after May 9. First, Maria left.
Yeah.
Maria left and contested in election, right? In beginning of the year, right? And me was whether we won, whether people have won or people have lost on May 9, for me was my last round. Because 2 elections and I've done, for me was like I've done whatever I could, and I think I should hand over to someone else. Change happened, right? Quite number of us, maybe the key ones or maybe the senior ones, was offered to serve the government, right? But there was a continuity by some who were still there. The question of creating, for me, I think I haven't said this before publicly or openly. Maybe today I will say it, right? My view at that particular time before I left was, I said that maybe it's time for us to to call it a day for birthday.
Hmm.
Right? Because for me, I'm not speaking for the steering committee or the members of birthday. We achieved what we wanted.
You did.
Right?
And very
and
well.
we achieved through the ballot box.
Yes.
And we always, our campaign was come out to vote and defeat the thief. Keluar mengundi, kalahkan pencuri. The tagline. And we did. And through ballot box. But some others have a different view. Says that, need to continue the reform agenda. While I agreed, but I also believe that a movement, this is for me, how I measure it. A movement will not live forever. Right? You have the EDSA movement in Philippines. Right? So the People's Power. Right? It happened in 1986 or 87. When it achieved the regime change at that particular time, or defeated Marcos, right? And people still talk about EDSA, but there's still the movement. People have moved on. Indonesia Reformasi, it happened, and move on.
The
right?
Tiananmen Square, Martin Luther King.
Yeah. So for me was one, you have achieved your agenda. Yeah. Right? There's three things of movement, how I measure. Two, you've been shut down by the government, which the government tried to shut us down, but the government failed. Right? The people won. Right? And thirdly is, when you just can't sustain yourself anymore. For me, we actually survived the pressure and we achieved our agenda. But there were different views to say that, no, the reform agenda is a beginning for the reform agenda, so they need to continue. And I think it became more from a people's movement to an advocacy movement. Or it became an advocacy group to, where you had probably more intellectual people there. Whereby before May 9, it was very activist driven, very clear, a people's movement moved into advocacy group. So whether there was a succession plan or not, I must say that probably some of them who still look at Maria and me that, you guys left without a plan, etc. all. But I think for a people's movement, it is what it is.
I mean, you've done your part, right?
Everybody have done their part, right?
What movement is there? Who you want to mobilize?
Correct. And I would say that the movement is still there. The entity is still there.
Yes.
The brand is still there.
That's right.
Right? And until today, people see us like, you're the Bersih guy, kind of stuff, right? When I write article, it's still that the ex-Bersih leader, the ex-Bersih activist, right? It's a brand which you wouldn't know that this brand may come back again. You wouldn't know. There'll be Bersih 6. You wouldn't know, right? Because the brand is there. The people may come out again. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Right? I mean, well, when something big and wrong happens, you can revive Bersih, Bersih 6.
So it's ultimately for the civil society to decide. And when I left Bersih, June 10, 2018, I left civil society as whole.
I love how you remember your exact dates. You've been listening to the podcast, right? Every time he mentions a date, a time, he will actually mention the exact date. 9th of May 2018, so-and-so, November. You are so particular with your dates. What's your date of birth?
Actually, it's 3 days' time.
What's that date again? 3 days' time? Today is, right. Oh, okay. On this podcast, I would like to wish you happy birthday in advance, Mandeep.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. I mean, dates are very important when we talk about movement, historical moment as well, and because the one thing I regret, right, after I've documented all this journey, I mean, I don't know how long my memory is going to last, right?
But document it.
And probably one day I will document it in a book.
You must document it, because I think, right, in the future, it should be in our history books.
It
you
should.
know, whether it's 20 years from now or 30, 40 years from now.
Yep.
Thank God I don't have to learn history, because if I'm going to learn history in 20 years' time, there's so much to learn from. I tell you, I pity the students lah. But anyhow, you all have to learn it.
I mean, I hope that one day, Bersih will be in some of our history
100%.
books.
It's going to be there.
In terms of democracy, it must. And a movement that, whether, yes, people can argue with some things we didn't do it right way or wrong way. But it was like Reformasi 98, right? Hindraf, November, 25th November 2007, right? Bersih, all. So it's all the historical moment that moments that I think you must go into history books.
100%.
For the future generation will look back and say that
Yes.
actually my country did this. These
Yeah.
are the people who did it.
Correct.
The Malaysians did it, and we can do it again. And it should be the way all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we put the Prime Minister in power, right? We vote you in, we vote our MPs in and all that, right? The power is in our hands, when you govern, you governing for us, right? Because I mean, it's not like you dictate to us, right? That's not the way. This is not how democracy, it's not Hitler's era,
The era is over. I think I always go back to May 9, where the Malaysian have crossed the bridge, and
Yeah.
we have passed through that.
All right. I think one last question for you, which I really want to know. What does a special officer to YB Gobind Singh Dio does?
What does special officer?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, my daily job in the office is, from running through daily schedule with the minister, the day on what we need to do, looking into policy papers. Once a week there's a cabinet meeting, so looking into the policy papers, updating minister on what policy papers that need to bring to his attention. Also events that minister looking into invites that's come in. Every day we receive like lots of invites for minister to go here, minister to go there. We need to read, or maybe sometimes, like for example, if you invite, then we need to call your organization, your company, to check what it's all about. Go back to the minister, tell her that, sir, you got this invite, whether we should attend or not, kind of stuff. So, yep. And then
So
also looking into politics as well, right? Like, suddenly some things happen, like, so it's like being with him, updating him, whether it's on policy, whether on programs, whether on politics, right? Yep.
So you're a very important person. So if I want to invite YB Gobind, I have to make sure you are happy first,
No lah.
and then you'll tell him, and then you say, no, this one you must go, or no, this
No.
one you must not go.
No, for me, it's not about, I mean, for me, from the 10 invites that we get, 8 I may not know anyone, right? But it's how do we, we get more information, and then we evaluate. I mean, we got agencies, we got ministry, we cross-check, right? And then we bring it to the minister for him to decide, right? And then ultimately, there's pro and, I mean, we put it in front of the minister, right? On what is the program about, who will be attending, what is the topic about, etc. Then for him to decide. So, YB Gobind is not that, when you go and see him, when you present to him, you better know your facts.
Yeah, I know. I've met
he's
him
a
a
lawyer,
couple of times. Yes.
Right? You better know. If you don't know, you don't go to the room.
Yeah, and you need to be
right?
short, sweet, fast. Off
Correct.
you go.
I mean, look,
because he's only got that much of head space with 10,000 other things
Correct, right? So I don't think that, there's specific person that it must be good to this person to get this and that. No, it's not.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. I think it is, so I'm just one of the special officers. There are many more officers.
How many special officers? I know Mohan.
Yeah. No, because there's a structure of minister officer. You got the senior principal secretary,
right.
you got the private secretary, and then you got parliament officer, because you got a structure there. So yeah, I do more. I mean, I do the politics part. Because you are a political we have a political secretary as well, YB Michelle from Subang, right? So yeah, we do all. And then for me, I think the good thing is I get to learn every day something new.
So you love your job.
Yeah, I love my job. Yep.
Will you come and go if Gobind is gone? Will you come and go, or will you continue with the next minister? How does that happen?
How does it work? I mean, for me is I follow YB Gobind, right, in 2018 when he came in, and then government collapsed. I went back to Damansara. I think ultimately is for the minister to choose who they want,
Right.
and also for us to be comfortable with who we work
That's
with.
right.
Right.
That's right.
For me, is I trust the minister, and I think there's a trust on me, and we get along quite well. But friendship is one, but work is work, professionalism.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
It's such an irony. I was his client, and then then I start working with him.
Oh.
I mean, a client because I was detained. I mean, he used to come and do my remand.
Right. So that's how your relationship
No,
started with
I know
Gobind.
him in 2009 when the Hulu Selangor by-election.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's how
okay.
I met him. And I was still if I'm not mistaken, I was still a student at the time.
Right.
I was still studying, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, yep, that's my daily job. Politics here and there. We are most of the time, we speak at midnight sometime also. Sometimes when something urgent come up, I need to call him and update him. Call him or text him, etc. Yep.
All right. On that note, please send my regards to YB Gobind. I will be delighted to have him on our show, or after you. I know you mentioned Zoe Rendawa. There'll be someone that I would like to also have on our show, and a few other names that you have mentioned. Hopefully, in due time, I will get all these people as well in the brand room. Mandeep, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking time to be part of the brand room.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.